Anti-dilution is something that often fascinates people because we don't see it in a normal security. And so there's an example that we will do in Excel. So I'm going to hop over to Excel right now so we can show it in the spreadsheet. Okay, this is an illustration of a full ratchet anti-dilution. Full ratchet means that there is no other consideration. If you paid more than the current round, you will get additional stock as if you came in this round. So let's do it with numbers. It's easier to understand when we see an example with numbers. So here on the upper left, you see certain given information is that there are 8 million shares of common outstanding, and the pre-money valuation was $8 million. The new money was 2 million from the Series A, let's call it, and therefore the post money is 10. So the math is pretty easy. A pre of 8, a raise of 2, a post of 10. So the common shareholders would own 80% after the financing. So we can do something we've seen multiple times at this point. You put the ownership percentage of the common, and in this case, they own 80%. Then we put the number of shares that are held by the common shareholders. In this case, it's 8 million. So then we can determine the total shares outstanding. And that is 10 million shares. The amount to the Series A investors would be 20%. The price per share is, we look at the new money. Price per share is price divided by shares. If it's 10 million shares outstanding and the new shares issued to the preferred shareholders 20%, the preferred shareholders would get 2 million shares. So now, if they put in $2 million and you divide it by the number of shares, we have a very simple number of $1 a share. The cap table then is also straightforward. How many shares does Series A have? Series A has 2 million. How many shares does the common have? Common has 8 million. Total shares are 10 million. Percent owned is the 2 divided by 10. And then the 8 divided by 10. So these are 80-20, and the total is 100%. Okay. All right, so next we'll do the price per share. Here we established it before at $1 a share, so let's just carry that in. And that holds for both the preferred and the common. The value for the shares purchased by the Series A investor, they bought 2 million shares times $1. And the value of the shares held by the founders is they still hold their 8 million shares times $1. And the total valuation is then 10 million. All right, all's fine. We kept it very simple because the next part is the wrinkle. All right, for the Series B, we need some more money. The common shares held by the founders is still the 8 million. The preferred A investors put in $2 million. The preferred B pre-money is 7.5. Now notice that the post money in Series A was 10 million. So now we're offering a pre-money of 7.5. That's down round. It needs to be at least 10 million to avoid this problem. And how much money is being raised in Series B? $5 million. So the post money would be the pre of 7.5 plus the new of 5 equaling 12.5 million post money. So now we can look at the ownership interest of the Series B of 40%. And now we go back to what we saw before. If the new money from Series A was fresh, it wasn't in Series A, they got it now, their new money, I put it in quotes because it's actually not new, but we're giving them credit as if they're getting shares based on today's valuation. So 2 million shares would mean that they would own 2 million out of 12.5 or 16%. So what's left over for common is that it's 100% minus the shares that are going to be given to the Bs minus the amount that's owned by the As now that we've adjusted for the full ratchet. So that means 44% is left over for the common, which means the total shares that they have were the same of 8 million. And the total outstanding would be now 8 million divided by the 44%, or now a larger amount of shares because of additional dilution from the down round of 18 million shares. Now, the price per share is the total post money is 12.5 divided by the shares of 18.18, and that is 69 cents a share. Now, A would be how many shares would they get? Well, if they put in $2 million and the price per share is 69 cents, they would receive 2,909,000. Now, if you glance back on the left, you see that for their original Series A, they only got 2 million shares. So this is going to be requiring this additional shares of 2,000,009 minus their original shares over here of 2 million, which means they get another 909 in additional shares. All right, we do that because now if you look at the 69 cents a share, we'll just carry that here, and if you say how many shares would the Series A investors have after the conversion or the protection from anti-dilution, they will now have this number, 2.9 million. So 2.9 million times the 69 cents keeps them whole. So after the Series B, the Series A shareholders still will have $2 million worth of stock in the entity, even though there was a down round. So now we're ready to do the cap table. The number of shares for Series A is now this revised number. The amount of shares for the Bs would be the total outstanding times their ownership percentage, which is 40%. That's their shares. The founders still have the same shares they've always had, which is 8 million. And if we sum this, it should equal the same number we did before, equal sum, and we get the 18,181, which is the same number as here. All right. The percent owned, we could just do this just to fill out the cap table, and we copy this across, or down rather, and we sum those, and we're okay with 100%. Price per share is the same for everyone at the end of the round, 69 cents. And we multiply the values across, and what we see is that the venture capitalists are all happy. The A's got full value for their old investment. They still are worth 2 million. The B's put in some money and they bought this many shares. So this many shares times 69 cents equals the $5 million of new money from this round. And the founders still have 8 million, but the price per share dropped. So their value started at 8 million here, and from the combination of dilution from the Series B and the down round, they now are down to $5.5 million of value. So the total equals the 12,500,000, which is the post money that we had before. So this math here that we did was all because we had to make up to the Series A investors that the price went down and we have to give them extra shares, quite a bit. They had 2 million shares. Now they end up with 2,900,000 shares. So it'd be nice if every stock we ever bought in the stock market had that provision for us to get a little extra shares if the stock price goes down. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.